laying in bed, wondering if she changed it all, if her hair was just as red. Folks said our lives together sure was gonna be rough. Never did like mama's homemade dress, Papa's baked food wasn't enough. I was standing on the side of the road, the rain falling in my shoes, heading out for the East Coast. Lord knows I paid my dues. Getting tangled up in blue, up in blue, tangled up in blue, tangled up in blue, tangled up in blue. She was married when we first met, soon to be divorced. Helped her out of a jam, I guess, but used a little too much force. Drove that car as far as we could, made it out west. Broke up on a cold Saturday night, told the green that it was bad. Turned around to look at me as I was walking away. Said something over my shoulder, we'll meet again someday on the avenue. Tangled up in blue, up in blue, tangled up in blue, tangled up in blue, tangled up in blue. I was living in the great North Pole, working as a cook for a spell. Never did like the job that much, and one day he actually fell. So we drifted down to New Orleans, where I happened to be employed, working for a while on a fishing boat right outside of Daily Croix. All the while I was all alone, life was close to high. Met a lot of women, but she never escaped my mind. And I just grew tangled up in blue, up in blue, tangled up in blue, tangled up in blue, tangled up in blue. She was working in a topless bar. I stopped in for a beer. She was staring at the side of her face in the spotlight so clear. Then finally the crowd thinned out. I was about to do the same. She was standing at the back of my chair and said to me, "Do I know your name?" Whispered something underneath my breath. She studied the lines on my face. Must admit I felt a little uneasy when she bent down to tie the laces of my shoes. Tangled up in blue, up in blue, tangled up in blue, tangled up in blue, tangled up in blue. She lit a burner on the stove and offered me a pipe. Never thought that you'd say hello, you looked at a silent type. Then she opened up the book of poems and handed it to me, written by an Italian poet from the 13th century. Every one of those words rang true and glowed like a burning coal, pouring out of every page like was written in my soul from me to you. Tangled up in blue, up in blue, tangled up in blue, tangled up in blue, tangled up in blue. I lived with them on Montauk Street in the bedroom below the stairs. There was music in the cafes at night, and revolution in the air. Then he started dealing with slaves, and something inside her died. She had to sell everything she owned and rose up inside. Finally, when the bottom fell out, I became withdrawn. The only thing I knew how to do was to keep on moving along like a bird that flew. Tangled up in blue, up in blue, tangled up in blue, tangled up in blue, tangled up in blue. So now I'm going back again. I got to get to her somehow. All the people that we used to know were an illusion to me now. Some are mad to next time. It's great to have you guys here for another week. Hope you enjoyed Tangled Up in Blue by Bob Dylan. It's one of my favorite songs. Glad I could play it for you. So for today's topic, I want to talk about boundaries. You may have noticed that I talk about knowing yourself frequently throughout these videos. That's because I find it so important to be able to understand who you are, what you like, what you don't like, and that just helps you be able to interact with the world, helps you have better relationships. Now, how does that relate to boundaries? Well, you got to be able to know what you like and what you don't like in respect to other people and how you're in your relationships. So, boundaries, what are they? Boundaries are being able to tell people how to interact with you. So for example, maybe you have a sibling that likes to steal your clothes and wear them. For you, that may be a boundary where you do not want them to cross. You don't want them to take your clothing. So it's important to be able to tell them and set that boundary and say, listen, I don't like you taking my clothing. You set that boundary and hope that they are able to respect it. Now, everyone's going to have boundaries. So it's important to also respect other people's boundaries. The important thing is to always be communicating what you like and what you don't like. And set that boundary early and be consistent. So in this example of your sibling taking your clothing, every time they do it, you have to tell them, I do not like you taking my clothing. And it's important to not be too emotional and not to be too aggressive and not to lash out, but to keep reminding them, please do not take my clothing. Second, you want to give them a positive option. So when they take your clothing, you can say, please do not take my clothing. If you would like to borrow something, please ask me. That gives them an option to still do something that they want, but also gives you the control. Lastly, you want to use them to be collaborative. So you want to give them the phrase of something like, then we can make a decision together. So in full, you would say something like, I do not like you taking my clothing. Please ask me before you take my clothes, or if you would like to borrow something. Then together we can make a decision on what the best option is. And I know this sounds a little too idealistic, and I get it. Life isn't so black and white, life isn't so easy. People don't always respect what you want. But if you're consistent, and you say it often, and you show them that you respect them as well, that you acknowledge that they have things that they want, they have needs, and you communicate with them, they're much more likely to be able to work with you. This is why setting boundaries is so important, and being clear with what your boundary is. If you don't like being called a certain name, you got to set that boundary. If you want to be spoken to in a certain way, please do not speak to me with anger. Please speak to me nicely. That way, together, we can communicate a lot easier. It's that easy. Obviously, that's my voice and that's how I speak. But use your own words. But remember that you want to be showing them respect. You show respect, you get respect. It's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be the first reaction when something wrong happens. So please, try to keep in mind your own boundaries and other people's boundaries so that you can have better relationships. So let's move on to the questions. What have I been reading? Recently I've been reading the book American Gods by Neil Gaiman. Now, if you're into any kind of mythology or kind of religious mythology, you will love this book. The book follows the character Shadow Moon as he falls into the mythological world that kind of inhabits our own realm. It's an exciting take on American mythology that involves personification of media the internet, how we worship screens and we worship things that are not, that are seemingly godlike. It's a really interesting novel with a wonderful story, and I highly recommend reading it. What have I been watching this week? Well, I decided to take it easy and watch a delightful show called Chopped. Chopped is a cooking show, competition, and it involves 4 contestants who each round have to concoct a different dish, appetizer, main entree, and then a dessert, using 4 ingredients, 4 mystery ingredients, and each round one chef gets chopped until they have a winner. It's delightfully easy to watch, and I've just been binging it episode after episode. Couldn't get enough this week. Lastly, what have I been listening to? Well, I can't get enough of one of my favorite bands, Wolfpack, and their album Hill Climber that came out in 2018. They are a really jazzy, bass-heavy, funky group that just puts out jam after jam after jam. I throw them on all the time in the morning. That just gets me going. I love it. I love the band. Love to see them live sometime. Like to see if you would listen to them too. Thanks for watching this week. Hope you have another wonderful week as the weather starts getting warmer and nicer. Maybe we can get outside a little more often. As always, send in your recommendations of stuff you'd like me to talk about, maybe a song I could play, or questions you might have. You can follow us at PSG Academy on Facebook and YouTube. And as always, this was Nick's time.